Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego, review those amazing bricks of plastic, and discuss what is new and up-and-coming around the Lego world. I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in, everybody. How are you doing today? Today, we are kicking into something new, something different, something that gives me great enjoyment talking to other people. And now some of you will, as you hear this interview, some of you will probably be like, you know what? I know I'm already doing that. Or I know him. I know all about this. I've heard this before. That is awesome. There are a lot of interesting things. And my guest today, his name is Greg. And there's a lot of interesting things that he has to say about his app, about Lego. And what I'm going to tell you right out of the gate, you know when somebody really cares about something, when they're really invested in it based on their tone. And that is what hit me immediately when I started talking with Greg about his app. So let's go ahead and get kicked off into this interview. I hope you guys enjoy it. All right. So I'm joined by somebody that some of you already know. I'm new to this, not to the podcast realm, but I'm new to this person. And I'm talking about Greg Avola. And Greg has created this wicked awesome app that has really kind of, you know, there have been some other things that have kind of walked down this vein before, but nothing like this. And Greg, first off, I want to welcome you to the show. Thank you so much for taking your time, you know, on this middle of the week type day and sharing what you have been working on for the last few years and stuff and where it's gotten to at this point.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really excited to talk about it. And obviously, when it comes to Lego, there's many things to get into. So I'm excited to be here.
Always Lego things to talk about. So, Greg, you've been obviously a Lego fan for a long time.
Yes.
And you've created this awesome app. So let's get to the app, because this is the main cherry that I wanted to talk about today, just because I've had an opportunity to dive into it. You were like, hey, can you check this out? Let me know what you think. And you had even said that, recently you've gone through some reiterations and changed some things. So tell us about the app, where we can find it, what you can do with it.
Yeah, so the app is called Bricked. It's basically a social network around Lego collecting, sharing, and observing and discovery. I've been a Lego fan for many, many years, probably when I was younger, a lot more than I was today. I remember when looking back at the sets that we have today, and I'm remembering what it was like when I was 10, 12 years old, and none of these sets kind of existed in this 18 plus range since then. So, one of the impetus of building an app like this is that I wanted a great way to be able to collect and share what sets I have. And of course, there are social networks like that. Facebook has Facebook groups, Instagram has great things like that, but they're not tailored toward the building experience that Lego offers. And that's really what makes Lego very unique from other things, is that every step of the puzzle, every step of the process, you want to share that experience. And that's where Bricked comes in. So Bricked allows you to kind of keep track of all the sets you have in your collection. You can organize them by sets that you have currently, or maybe even sets that you want to have. And then you can also have build notes, which is a really cool feature that allows you to, as you're building your Lego set, you can take pictures and share updates as you're building it. So you can go bag to bag and specify to your friends and followers what bag number you are on. Say you, for example, I'm building the Milky Way galaxy right now. I just finished bag 7 last night. So I've just done 1/3 of one 3-pack of those tiles in the actual piece there. And it's great to share that experience with all my friends all around the world. So it creates a great discovery aspect of it from that end. And I think one of the other features I think is great is just the social aspect of what makes Lego so great. So you can see and follow your friends on there. You can kind of comment and kind of like their posts. You can kind of figure out what sets are out there that maybe in the theme that you're interested in. All these things come in this package called Bricked, which is a free app for iOS and Android. You can find it at getbricked.com. There's no E because, that was taken from a domain name perspective. So it's just BRICKD. And that's the app that we created. So it's very, very cool, and excited to have more folks check it out and see what they think.
First thing, when I found out what the name of it was, when he sent it to me, and I was like, you know what? I'm sure it was something to do with a URL type thing. And I was like, that's even better. Just having the D on the end, not the ED, like that is, it just fits, right? It fits with everything that is out there, whether it be a traditional lego.com site or something off the beaten path, and you end up with what you have. So first off, that is really cool. So your background obviously is going to be different than a lot of people. Creating an app, creating a website, creating a website these days doesn't seem like the most labor intensive thing. Yep. Creating an app is a whole different ball game. So where did the idea come from? Were you just sitting at the dinner table one night and you're like, aha, I've got it?
Yes, it's a great concept. So I, like I mentioned before, I've been into Lego for quite some time, but I got back into it recently about a year and a half ago. I think my mother-in-law bought me the Up set, the Up house for Christmas or one year. And I remember building that set, and I was thinking to myself, it would be really cool if I could share this part of the process, especially if anyone's built this set before. The balloons, which is the more visible part of that Up house, it's a pretty crazy thing, and it's like a very intensive process. So I wanted to share that experience with my friends and family. I'm like, there's really not a great network to be able to do this. And I could go on some of the other websites out there, but it wouldn't really capture the essence of what this was. So for me, that's where the idea caught my eye. I said, hey, I could build an app that would allow you to collect and show what you have in your sets, but more importantly, show your build progress and what things you found interesting. And you can tailor in comments and reviews, and you can make it your own and make it your own personal experience so that your friends can see how you thought about it from that side. A great example of this is the Starry Night set. And if you ever built the Starry Night art set, bag 5 is pretty much the death of you. It's a bunch of blue tiles that are all the same color that you have to make sure you're squinting correctly and you get the right blue on the right tile there. And people comment about that on that particular piece, like get ready for bag 5. And it's a fun thing that I don't think you get an experience anywhere else on the internet from a Lego perspective. So for my background, it's been in software engineering. I've developed a few apps in the past, and when I found out that this was something that I really wanted to dive into, the first thing I did was check out to see what's out there. And there wasn't really one that matched what I was looking for. And I guess the rest is history. And one of the things that we're trying to do with Bricked is connect people that love building Legos in a new way, in a new form, in a social network that's curated toward the experiences that I think are the best parts of Lego, which is the building experience. So that's kind of where it all came from, is just trying to build on top of the great sites that have been built out there, or Brickable, Bricklink, etc., and making it more social metric so you can comment and toast, interact, and all these things from there. So that's kind of where it all came from.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that, the social aspect, and that is probably the most intriguing thing. One of the most intriguing things about the app in general is just that you have that social experience. It almost felt like it ties a bit of Instagram idea to it, and almost with X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. You kind of have all of that tied into it, but at the same time, on the base of it, it's Lego. It's Lego involved. It is about the bricks. And it's funny that you mentioned about the Starry Night. And it's one of those things that bonds every builder. Somebody that's going through bag 5, they're seeing it from somebody else, or they're hearing it, or they're reading it on a blog or on a website, and they're going through that same experience and they're posting it. And it's a bonding moment right there of, God, yeah, bag 5, or you could name the set really, anything that is kind of intensive, depending on what Technic vehicles, there's people that are going to say, oh, watch out for the gearing, watch out for the gearing, watch out for this. There are always going to be those moments. And it's a really cool, novel idea to be able to take that and capture it. And then, you're building something, I'm building something, Jimmy over in Colorado is building something. And we all have this shared experience of this moment, of this build, of this bag, of that part, of whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a really cool idea. And I definitely think, looking through it, for the last few days and weeks, just seeing how the interaction is, it seems like it's a very happy place. Like there's not any, sometimes I wouldn't even say Instagram so much, my algorithm is usually plastic, brick, or animals, right? Like that's pretty much all that pops up. So, but that's okay. But if you go to some of the other places, you start seeing some of the negative things that get creeped in, or their ad place. And it's like, I don't, this is not fun anymore. And then you stay away from it. But I got to commend you. Like, I love the way everything is kind of there. I love the ability, when I was thumbing through it, a few days ago, and I'm seeing some of other content creators and the YouTube stuff and how everything kind of connects to it. It's like this central hub, but at the same time, it is able to be connected to so many different places and so many different people and so many different platforms. It's a big deal. I'm really glad this is something that you have a passion for, that you have come forth and, shared with the community, because you've really tapped into something. And I think, honestly, I hope it blows up exponentially and stuff like that, just because it is so well done. And it is something else that maybe the community as a whole was like, oh, we don't really need this, but you need it more than you need it.
Yeah. I remember when I first launched this, there was a lot of comments like, why do we need this over things like Free Brickable? We have Facebook groups and we have Instagram. Why do we need an additional tool? And you mentioned a few of those things right off the top here. One of the things that we really pride ourselves on is like a community, really driving toward people to have meaningful conversations and share those experiences. You can even create a collaborative list in Brick. So for example, if you have somebody that's across the country and you want to build something with them, they have the same set, you can create a collaborative item and you can both add build notes to it, and you can create those shared experiences all from the platform as a whole. So it's a very much of a nice way to kind of connect folks from all walks of life, all aspects of the world into one platform that we really want folks to be able to enjoy, have fun, and really create the building process. So like, yes, we are building on top of successful platforms like Facebook and Instagram and all the other ones out there, but with our unique twist on it, with these build notes, with the content creators being able to show their reviews and everything else right in the app from that side. We have marketplace data now. So we have Lego pricing information with Amazon and everything else. So you can see where to buy these things across the board too. So I think the sky's the limit. I hope the sky's the limit. And I think that, people have flocked to it. And I'm really excited to see that the passion and the driving force in the community, that's really what drove me to build the app in the first place. So it's great to see those things replicated in the app today. So I'm more than happy to hear that from that end.
Well, I honestly think that you've tapped a spot, and I know there's going to be the folks out there. There will always be those folks that say, well, why do we need this? We already have something else. Mm-hmm. If anything else, it gives you another tool. It gives you another way to connect to people. It gives you a different avenue to just enjoy and experience the plastic brick in a whole different way.
Yeah.
Right. It may not be for everybody. That is
correct.
Fine. But I honestly feel that based on what you have created, and I'm telling you guys right now, get the opportunity, go download the app, go to the website, go check it out. Just because I think once you get in there, you will understand. So yeah, I really appreciate everything that you've done with this. Do you have any things that maybe you've got noodling around in your brain, like, I would really like to add on this or modify this, or maybe add something to it? Is there anything right now that you're kind of like, I could see this expanding, or anything of the sort?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've always thought about when building products and apps, something like that, is like, who is the target user for this application? You mentioned before, like, we're not going to be able to have an app for everybody. Like, there are some people that are just not going to want an app for their particular Lego collection. And that's perfectly fine. But what are the types of users that we want to target, and how are we going to build features for them that make the most amount of sense? So for example, one of the things that I always like to look at is like, how many of my sets are retired versus how many of my sets are actually active. So we're adding in more filters and searching capabilities to your own collection, so you can see a more deeper dive on what you have, which is a great feature that we just launched recently. The other aspect I think is fun for some people that are big collectors is we show you a price value. So because we have prices of all the Lego sets in our system from Lego.com, we can give you an average price of how much you spent on Legos, or how much your collection is worth if it was potentially unopened from that perspective. And that kind of adds a kind of fun, a feeling that you can kind of keep to yourself. The great part about that is that that's your own personal stats, so no one else can see that except for you. That's a great way to kind of look at it from that end. But I think that what we want to do is connect more folks across the board. So more ways to kind of share and chat with others and get recommendations across the board. That's one thing that I think that I'd like to add to the app, is better recommendations, to say, hey, you primarily build a lot of themes from architecture. What is the new architecture set that you don't have that you may be able to find locally at your store as well? And then finally, we just launched a brand new feature, which I think is really great, that will help more of the retail stores, is that you can now tag where you bought your sets from, both on an online version, but also on a retail version. So if you go to your local Lego third-party store, like Bricks and Minifigs or etc., you can tag that you bought that at that location too, and share the love and share what's available at those places via aggregated lists from that end. So I think that there's a lot of options here. And one of the things that I pride myself on is feedback as well. So if you're out there listening to this podcast and you have a feature idea that you'd like to have, I'm all for that. We actually launched a feature that allows users to see if a set's on your list, on your wish list, or you're currently building it when looking at the Explore tab, which shows recommended sets based on your own preferences. So it can easily show you that, hey, I have some wishes already. Maybe I should pick it up next time at the store. So I'm always open for feedback. I think it's the best way to kind of take what you have and build upon it. But yeah, I think those are some of the things that we're really excited about for the future, and hopefully get more feedback and be able to build on top of it.
You bring up a lot of interesting things there, a lot of interesting little details. And I really love the idea of, being able to go back and see, rough idea of how much your stuff is worth, a rough idea of how much you've spent. Sometimes, depending on where we are in our lives, you might look at it and be like, "Oh man, that was a rough help there. That was a rough, whatever, a year or whatever. I spent a little too much." But it's a really neat idea to be able to categorize your sets and classify them, basically just how you want. Like you said, it could be your own, when it comes to money and stuff like that, your own personal rough idea. But there are always folks that are like, well, when did this retire? You find yourself in conversation with everybody from time to time. And somebody will say, like for me, my wife is one of those things that I just remember is movies. I can tell you for the most part, older movies of like year, or they came out, or ballpark within a year or so. And there are people in the Lego community that are kind of like that. And it's almost like a challenge. You say, well, when did this retire? 1997.
Yep.
Pop it up. There it is. Yep. I'm just looking at all the different ways that all the information that you have collected can be used for, as a party game or something like that. You've got all kinds of different things.
We actually added in a feature recently called the set. I have a really bad naming with these things, but it's a set completion percentage. So essentially, where all the themes have in the system, you can see how much of all of them have you built. So for example, the icon series, how many have you built percentage wise of the entire one? How much do you own? And we put a progress bar on the top of that set, so you can, or that theme, you can see, okay, I've got 30% completed. So like the idea is that you can kind of show your friends, like, I'm at 30%. Where are you at? And you can have the conversation where you can say, oh, what do you have? What if I don't have? And you can use those opportunities to kind of create great, meaningful conversations around Lego sets. Like there was one set that I'm a big architecture fan, so I have a lot of those sets on my own. And I saw an eBay posting for the Sydney Opera House, like a very old set, which is probably back in early 2000s, something like that. So I posted one out there, and someone was like, oh, I was going to buy the same one. What do you think about it? And that creates conversation. That creates a great opportunity to say, hey, is it worth the price that I paid for this up? Where should I get it from? And all these things are great about Lego, is basically allowing folks to be able to discover new things around there, add to their wish list, talk to their friends about it. And that's what I really like the most about this platform, is that it creates that sense of unity, and it grabs people's attention and allows them to brag a little bit. Because ultimately, we all set up our Lego displays in our houses. We know that when people come over, we just want to show it to them and talk about them all day long. So now we can do that from our comfort of our couches, from our phones. So that's really where I think the excitement drives for me.
You brought up an interesting point there. And I don't know that you're going to get the same response from the community, some folks in the community. The progress bar of a certain, theme with the completionist syndrome. You might have a lot of, there might be some folks going to see a counselor or something over that one. I think there's a lot of opportunity there to use that to your own discretion. And of course. And trust me, I understand that avenue very specifically. I used to, I'm the co-founder of a beer app that had very similar methodology as this Lego app, where people wanted to drink all the beer in the world from that perspective. It's just not possible to be able to do that. But I think for your own perspective, if you're interested in doing that, that's a great option to see how much you've completed from there. And there's just going to be sets you're not going to be able to obtain. Like for example, on the Skyline series, getting Venice or getting Berlin or Chicago are very, very hard sets to find if you're not going to pay an enormous amount of money there. So
So I think to each their own, and definitely, don't want to encourage folks to empty their wallets just to complete it. But for your own personal sense, I think it's kind of cool to see how much you completed from a set or a theme from your end. But I definitely agree with you. Not everyone will like that feature for sure.
I'm there with you. But this is a warning to anybody that is listening. Okay. Please do not put yourself into financial
We're not
constraints where you are, filing for bankruptcy or you're losing your home or anything. Please don't do that. Spend wisely, make appropriate decisions for your financial situation. But no, I like the idea that, someone like, a Ninjago collector like myself, there are things that I missed in the beginning because I kind of was coming out of the dark age when my son started getting into it. And it was like, okay, I haven't gone into all that yet, but it's like that progress bar is going to be kicking me in the butt here a few times. Like
maybe we can add a feature to disable that for your account or something like that, or view only or something along those lines.
No, it's a really great, it's a great thing. Maybe, that I just foresee all the information that people can glean from the app, and their collection. It just adds different data points and things to go back and look at certain things. And, you end up like with the YouTube rabbit hole, right? Everybody's familiar with the rabbit hole on YouTube. This could be one of those things where, in a good way, where you start going down this rabbit hole and you're like, okay, I've got this completion. And then you start looking into other things. And before you know it, you're expanding into different things. You're finding these other things, and you may stumble across something else that you never even thought of. And that's how you end up collecting everything. And, you're in a whole different issue where you have no space and all that. But
I think the interesting part about this is the social aspect. Just like with anything, you are more apt to try things if your friends try them. And I think that, for example, I forgot that there was an upsized minifig that you could build, one of the sets that was released a long time ago. And I saw a friend of mine post that he just got it. I'm like, oh my God, that's a great set. That would go great in my collection. And I went ahead and purchased it. So I think that is what we're trying to accomplish in the system here. We obviously don't want anyone to go bankrupt and buying every Lego possible into the world. But I think, you discover sets from your friends. You discover sets from just what you like and what you don't like. I think there's a lot of metadata that's maybe lost from a Lego perspective, like how many bags are in each one, how many, are there multiple bags for each one here? What's the release date on this? What's the retire date on this? And that can be shared in a more meaningful way that I think Lego fans from around the world, whether you're just getting into it or you are a seasoned veteran, can enjoy that experience there and catalyze it correctly. So I think that's why I like it, why I build it, why I continue to build it, is I get so much value out of meeting folks, talking with folks around it. And I think that's really the great part about it.
That's great to hear. I absolutely love it. I think it's going to be super impressive. I've enjoyed it so far. I hope more of the community finds it, enjoys it, uses it for however they so choose, whether they want to be more social or they just want to use it as a categorizing thing. It's there, and that's really awesome.
And that's the other part about setting is great. It's categorized for any type of user. You could be really social and want to share every single set, every single bag number that you complete, or you can do none of that. And you can use it just simply as a collection tool with all the sorting and filtering that we have in there to tell you which sets are retired, which sets are active or building or on your wish list. So we try to tailor to both types of personas there, and hopefully you find something that you enjoy within the service. And if you don't, I would love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear what you think would be great to add into there. I feel like that's what's great about Lego, is that we're always very receptive to feedback. We talk about Lego designers the same way, where we give feedback and review sets on the how it looks and how it feels and how the build process as a whole. And I'm the same way with bricks. So if you are out there and trying it out and you want to add some feedback, I'm happy to hear it.
That's really cool to hear. So before we tie things up, I've got a couple questions here because you had mentioned, about a year and a half, you've kind of come out of the dark ages or whatever, if you will. Yeah. So what spurred it on?
Yeah, honestly, I was coming out of COVID, and, I'm sure this is a very common story with a lot of Lego fans that come right back into this, and, looking for something to do. And I like puzzles, but they're very two-dimensional. And I think that is what I've come to realize, is that they're great for doing, flat from there. But when I got that Lego set that I mentioned, the Up House, it was kind of cool. I mean, I had never even seen the movie, to be honest with you, which is a pretty sad thing to be. I have 2 kids. I've seen this by now, but I have not. And I feel like it added some complexity to adding in a house and building in the balloons and the minifigs, and it just got me really excited. And after that, I bought the A-frame cabin, and I really love that. It's, to this day, one of my favorite sets I built in the longest time is the A-frame cabin, which is so much detail. It's like my dream retirement home in the middle of the woods. So that would be a great opportunity to build like there. And from there, I just kind of went hog wild. My next one was the Home Alone house, which is a pretty big jump from all those things there. I've been a huge Home Alone fan for my entire life, and now be able to minifig it and put it in the back of my wall here. It's been amazing. So it's just been great to tie the things that I enjoy about my youth and everything else into Legos. And that's just kind of got me started. And from there, I've just gone off all on the rails and got a lot of different things. Star Wars and everything else has been a big part of me. And that's kind of all I got into it. It's great, relaxing activity. As I mentioned, I have 2 kids. I'm pretty hectic around the parts these days. So it's nice to be able to build with my sons and be able to work with them too. So that's obviously a great part about it. But ultimately, it's a 3-dimensional puzzle, and it really it's a great way for me to kind of relax and enjoy and really build some interesting stuff. And that's kind of what I got back into it for. And like I said, I remember when I was younger, I was big into pirates, which I wish they would revive more of that series. And I had the whole Aqua piece there, and it's funny. Once I got back into it, I went back to my parents' house and got my old Legos from the basement. And you can just see how much they've changed over the years. It's crazy to see these small plastic bricks where you thought they could never adapt to newer stuff to like the crazy building techniques that happen today. So it's just amazing when you step back and look at it, how much is really brought to Legos across the board. And the one last thing I'll say about this is that you walk into a Lego store and you see everybody from 2-year-olds to 60-year-olds. And I think there's not many products out there in the world that can really like vastly have that age from all walks of life to come in. That's a really cool thing to be a part of. And that's why I like Lego so much.
Yeah, you bring up a lot of interesting points there. Pirates, yes, we need more of.
Yes, we do.
We need a lot of retro stuff modernized. But it is interesting because, like you said, you walk into a Lego store, you walk down a Lego aisle in a big box store, and you could see little kids, you could see somebody that is retired, you could see, it doesn't matter. Your average person is just out there and they're just looking and stuff like that. And, that is one of those things. And there's an interesting thing that you said, and I really never thought about it this way, as it being a 3D puzzle.
Yeah.
And that's a very interesting way to put it. I've never heard anybody say that before, but essentially that is what you are dealing with. It is a puzzle. It is relaxing to a certain degree. It's the same reason people do jigsaw puzzles. Yep. Same reason I do a jigsaw puzzle is because I want to sit, I want to relax, I want to chill, I want to create something, the picture, whatever. So that is really cool to hear.
Yep.
With all that in mind, what, obviously you're more out of your dark age, more and more each day, but is there a theme right now other than pirates that you would love to see? But is there a theme right now that you're like that maybe, let's say in the last 10 years, and you just say they're doing it right. I just need more of this.
Yes, interesting question. I would say honestly, they don't do a lot of these, but I've been a huge fan of Architectural and the Architect series. They did a lot of this back in the early days, but as of recently, the most biggest one they've done like once a year. They've got the pyramids. They've got the Notre Dame Cathedral just came out this year, the Taj Mahal. Those are incredible sets that I think they've done an amazing job. The first initial passes with like the Louvre and the Arc de Triomphe were much smaller oriented pieces that were great for like, smaller builds, but you can see how much they've changed so much in this area, and they're crushing it in the architectural side. I don't think it's a lot of love in the Lego community as much because they're not as like, IP like Star Wars or movies or wherever, but the Notre Dame Cathedral is one of the most fantastic builds that I've done in the last 6 months from that. It's just been unreal, the level of detail they apply to it. The price per piece ratio is relatively small, so it's a great set to own. And that's something that I've been going after now and just seeing all the architectural sets from there. They're just getting better and better. I hope they do more of these, not just once a year that they've normally been doing most of these things, maybe twice a year. But I hope to see more of those buildings come to life because I'm a big fan of architectural buildings and whatnot. So I hope to see more of those in the future. But that's my pick from that end.
And you bring up a good point. It feels as if it doesn't get a lot of love from the Lego community. You have there's a bunch of niche communities within the Lego community, collectors to whatever. And that is one of those themes that, you don't hear a whole lot of people rave about it. No. You don't, but like you had mentioned, they are extraordinarily detailed.
Yes.
They are very, they've, increased in size, which is okay with me. The Taj Mahal is one of my favorites that I've done.
Yep.
The Colosseum as well. However, that would be cool to see some more. And that, like you said, there's so many iconic buildings, historical, modern, doesn't matter. There's so many around the world that you have plenty of content to go for, the next 50 years.
And most of it's not really IP driven. So you have the ability for you to make these buildings without having these absurd, like really high costs of the actual set from that perspective there too. So I think this is again, not a very talked about theme. You look at something like the modulars, which everyone wants to collect every single time that one comes out every year. I feel like, the buildings are almost like that very similarly. They are micro scale. So if you're not a big fan of micro scale buildings, then maybe that's not your thing. But I really love the Taj Mahal. You mentioned that and the funny part about that build is the tiling that you do on the lower level, which is crazy. I think there was like 48 or 52, X on the side of that instruction. But again, amazing when it comes and it finishes across the board. So that would be my pick for the theme. To hopefully Lego is thinking about more ways to improve that theme.
Yeah, that would be really neat. So before we get out of here, could you shout us out where can people find the app? Where can they find you? If they need to get in contact with you, they're like, hey, I've got an idea, or, hey, this is really cool. Compliments are always, always nice to get, no matter who you are. So let us hear it.
Absolutely. So you can find Bricked at GetBricked. That's BRICKD.com. If you don't want to type all that, it's just bricked.app, which is a short little name from that end. It's a free app for iOS and Android, also available on the web. We also just launched an iPad app recently. So if you like iPads, you can do that as well there too. You can find me on Twitter, X, or whatever it's called. I'm at Gregavola, GREGAVOLA. And follow all of Bricked on our socials at GetBricked app on all the networks social that you have there. So once again, that's Bricked, BRICKD.app, free app for iOS and Android. And thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's great to talk about Lego in this fashion.
Yeah, it was a good time. So guys, make sure you go check all that stuff out, follow him, get the app, check it out. I promise you enjoy it. I think sign up takes less than it takes to put a key in your door and open your door these days. Like it seems so quick. So most definitely go ahead and check that out. And Greg, again, thank you so much for coming on. I had a blast talking, and we'll hope to have you back again in the future, especially if you have some kind of major update you got.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to come back. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
I told you this was going to be a great interview. I told you it was going to be great. It was such a great opportunity to talk to Greg, get all this insider information, this detail, and understand what this app is about. What is so involved in it? What are all the things that make it so unique and such an incredible experience? And that's really what it is. It's not just an app that you use. It's not like the Weather Channel. It's not a weather app that you just pull up and you're like, all right, today's forecast is, or it's going to rain in a couple hours. This is a different entity entirely, in the sense that it is a community app. Like it is, you have a small community here, and I hope it just grows exponentially, just due to the sheer fact that it is an incredible app. Nothing like this has been done before. And what I think is really neat, and he didn't really touch on this, but I kind of came to my own conclusion about this. This is almost like a central hub. You have social media, you have connection with Bricklink, with Brickset, with Rebrickable, with all kinds of different things. You have content creators that are even here, myself included. But you have all of these different things. Then you get into the metric side of it. This is, to me, is almost like this but this unique central hub for the Lego space. And, you heard some of the ideas that, adding into, where you bought the set online at a store, potentially what store individually, like that is very fascinating to me. All that data is very unique. And like he said, there's a lot of metadata that, just doesn't go anywhere. And now you have it. He's got it. You have it. I think it's fantastic. I really think it's fantastic. And I think you definitely should. It costs you nothing. It's a great experience. And if you don't like it, you don't have to. You don't have to use it. But I encourage you to go check it out. Take some time. Like I said, it takes nothing to set up an account real quick and just experience it. And you may not want to use it for like the full in-depth thing that it can be, because I don't know that anybody will other than Greg. He knows every single feature that is in there. The rest of us are kind of poking around and doing some stuff. But I encourage you to go check it out. And then let him know, hey, this is really cool. Or like he said, if there's anything, some feedback, I would really wish it had this, or I wish, it could do this. Or what if but what if you thought about doing this or whatnot? Some things are feasible. Some things can be done. But just go hit him up. Let him know, hey, this app is really cool. I think it's fun. And just go enjoy it. Go experience it. I'm going to be enjoying it on my trip here in the few days. After you're hearing this, I'm already jet setted. However, go check it out. So that's going to wrap it up. Make sure you follow him. Get the app at Bricked. The app is Bricked, of course. You can get it on the Android and iPhone stores. So make sure you go get it, or you can do it online, like he said, as well. So until we meet again, I'm your Minifigure host, Matt. Let's build on it.